Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today is the auspicious Disappearance Day of Ishvara Puri. When we give class, usually we have the ladies sitting on this side and the men sitting on this side. So if the men want to come and sit on this side, and the ladies stay there, and usually we face this way, because we're going to be speaking now about important personality in our line. So Ishvara Puri was the spiritual master of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who here has heard of Lord Chaitanya before? Not everybody, some of us. So we all know that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna is the Supreme Lord who we're coming here to worship. But Krishna appeared on this planet 5,000 years ago. That was quite a long time ago. And that's not in this particular age. Who knows what age we're in right now? What's it called? Kali Yuga, that's right. So when did Kali Yuga begin? 5,000 years ago, very good. So in this age of Kali, then Krishna appears in a different form, and the name of the incarnation of Krishna in this age is called Lord Chaitanya. So here we have a picture of Lord Chaitanya with his associates. Lord Chaitanya is in the middle there. So Krishna is the Supreme Lord. He says in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham sarvasya prabhava mata sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. Explaining that he is the Supreme Lord, everything emanates from him, both the spiritual and the material worlds. But that's not enough for Krishna, being the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You could say one could be satisfied with being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but for Krishna that's not enough. He likes to have personal human interaction. And that's where it comes from. We all like relationships. We all have our family, we have our friends, we have our parents, we have our work colleagues, and they're important relationships to us, right? If something happens to those relationships and we feel upset, then we're missing something. So that rasa, that relationship, that need for interaction with others comes from Krishna originally. So he's the original person that is experiencing that. So when Krishna comes to this world, he doesn't relish or enjoy particularly being the Supreme Lord. That is his position in the spiritual world, in Vaikuntha. He's the Supreme Lord, everybody is worshipping him. There's a lot of power and grandeur there. But in the material world, or in the spiritual world also, then he enjoys relationships. And this can be confusing for some people, because Krishna enjoys relationships just like we enjoy relationships. And that can be bewildering. So Queen Kunti says that although you cannot be bound, then you're bound by Mother Yashoda. How can that be? It's bewildering to me. So Krishna is full of inconceivable potencies. And it is inconceivable. I remember probably the first Krishna conscious thing I heard in my life was when I was around 15 or 16 years old, and there was this band, Kula Shaker. Do you remember them? Shrabi, you remember them, Govinda? So this band, Kula Shaker, you remember as well. So they were singing this song. It was high up in the charts, so Chincha Beda Beda Tattva. Isn't that amazing, how having like a hit single in the UK called a Chincha Beda Beda Tattva? So many people were singing that, going to concerts, listening to Kula Shaker, and I was also singing it and enjoying it. They also did another song, Govinda Jaya Jaya, Gopala Jaya Jaya. So they're all white, they're from England, but they were singing with electric guitars these songs. And they're saying a Chincha Beda Beda Tattva. Krishna is totally inconceivable. How can it be that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead? The first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam says, that Krishna is directly and indirectly conscious of all manifestations. So you think it would be enough to be directly conscious of all manifestations? I mean, that's pretty comprehensive. But Krishna is also indirectly conscious of all manifestations. So if Krishna is omniscient, if Krishna is omnipresent, if Krishna is everywhere, then he's conscious of everything, right? Srila Prabhupada gives the example that we're conscious of everything that happens to our body. Anything that happens, somebody pulls your hair, or if you just get a tiny little thorn in your finger or in your toe, can be absolutely tiny. I know I'm a gardener, so I'm always getting thorns in my fingers, and they're so tiny, but they cause so much pain. So we're conscious, and we feel everything that is happening in this body. So similarly, Krishna is conscious of every single thing that is happening in this cosmic manifestation. And not only is he directly conscious of it, but he's also indirectly conscious of it. So Krishna is conscious of everything. He knows what's happening. He knows what's happening in everybody's heart. He knows what everybody's feeling. But at the same time, he wants to enjoy relationships. So there's the rasa and there's the tattva. And Krishna will even cover himself so that he can forget that he's the Supreme Lord, so he can enjoy those relationships, which is quite interesting. Bhagavatam also says, Viteratam yat pratiyeta na pratiyeta chatmani tad vidyadat manomayam yatabaso yatatamaha. So Krishna is speaking to Lord Brahma, and he says, O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relationship to me, no, it is my illusory energy, that reflection which appears to be in darkness. So what do you think that means, the reflection which appears to be in darkness? Any suggestions?
There's the sun that's in the dark universe.
So he appears in the dark universe? Yeah? Yeah, could be that. Any other suggestions? What's it like when you go to a cinema? What happens when you go in the cinema? It's dark, right? It's dark because you have to be in darkness to be immersed in an illusion. And it's the same in this material world, that for us to be immersed in this world, then we have to be covered. We have to be in ignorance. Our whole existence in this material world is based on the false ego, thinking that I'm this body. If you don't think that you're this body, and if you don't identify with this body, then what football team are you going to support? How are you going to be immersed in buying some nice clothes? How are you going to care about how much money you have or how big your house is? If you understand that I'm an eternal soul and I'm here just for a few moments only and nothing material is going to give me any happiness, then how can you be absorbed and captivated by everything that's going on in this material world? So for us to be immersed in these things, we have to be in illusion. And when we're practicing Krishna consciousness, then it's gradually dissipating that illusion. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is helping us to become free from this, but he's also showing that these relationships are there not only in the material world, but they're also there in the spiritual world. So today is the disappearance day of Srila Ishvara Puri, and as the ladies were saying earlier, who was Ishvara Puri? What was his relationship in connection with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? He was his spiritual master, right? So Achyutananda, when Achyutananda was the son of Advaita Acharya, and he was 5 years old. So when a sannyasi came to Advaita Acharya's house, the sannyasi asked, what is the relationship between Keshava Bharati and Lord Chaitanya? Keshava Bharati was Lord Chaitanya's sannyas guru. So Advaita Acharya said, Keshava Bharati is Lord Chaitanya's spiritual master. And immediately Achyutananda was very upset, a 5-year-old boy. He stood up and he said, "Father, what are you saying? How can you say this about Lord Chaitanya? He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the origin of everything. How can he have a spiritual master? If you say this, this will be the cause of chaos in our society, thinking that God can have a spiritual master." And Advaita Acharya was very happy to hear that from his son Achyutananda and said, "Yes, I'm very proud of you, you're correct." He said, "Actually, I'm the son and you're the father because you're teaching me now." So it's bewildering. Like Queen Kunti says, how is it that you're bound and you're not bound? And many people struggle with this. Muslims, I was just talking to a Muslim on the street in Watford the other day when we were distributing books, and there was Harinam. And he was saying, "What are you doing?" I said, "We're preaching about God." I said, "We're preaching about Allah." And he said, "No, you're not preaching about Allah." And I said, "Yeah, we're preaching about God." I said, "How many gods are there?" He said, "There's only one." And I said, "Yeah, Krishna is God. You can call him Krishna or you can call him Allah." And he was saying, "No, you can't describe Allah. You can't define Allah. You can't say that he's a he." Although he says that he's a he, and they all call him a he, because they think it limits him. And in one sense it would limit him, right? A he, it means he's a man, he's not a woman, he's not a frog, he's not a tree, he's not a cloud, he's a person. It's limiting. It's saying he is this, and he's not so many other things. But due to Krishna's potency, he can be in a form, like a person, like a man, like a cowherd boy, and at the same time he can be everything by his potency. One time a slightly aggressive reporter asked Srila Prabhupada, "So if your God is so great, then can he create a rock that he can't lift? Can he create a rock that is so heavy that he can't lift it himself? So if he can't do that, then how is he God, right? Because he's not able to do something. But if he can do that, then how is he not able to lift it? Because then he's also not able to do something." So it's quite a good question. And Srila Prabhupada said, yes, he can create a rock so heavy that he can't lift it, and then he'll lift it. Because Krishna's potencies are always expanding, they're always changing, they're always inconceivable, they're always achintya. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu accepted Srila Ishvara Puri as his spiritual master, and that was the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. I've heard, although I didn't read it today, that before or when he was taking initiation from Ishvara Puri in Gaya, then he whispered the mantra, or was that with Keshara Bharati? It might have been with Keshara Bharati, that's why I didn't read it today. Do you know, Govinda? Yeah, he whispered it. Was it with Keshara Bharati? Okay, so with Keshara Bharati, when he was taking sannyas, then he whispered the mantra in Keshara Bharati's ear, and then Keshara Bharati spoke it to him. But similarly with Ishvara Puri, then Lord Chaitanya was accepting, okay, this is the formality, that one must accept a guru. Yad yada charati shreshtas tat tadevi taro janaha sayat paramanam kurute lokas tat anuvartate. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, whatever actions a great man performs, all the rest follow. So Krishna sets the example. So do you think Krishna has to accept a spiritual master? No, Krishna doesn't have to do anything. When Krishna was naughty and he was eating dirt in Vrindavan, and Mother Yashoda came to check. You know this story, right? You've heard of this. Then she looked in Krishna's mouth, and what did she see? She didn't see any dirt. She saw all the whole of the universe. So Krishna is not bound by any rules and regulations, but just to set the example so we know what to do with our lives, then he shows us. And because it's such an important thing, accepting a spiritual master, then Lord Chaitanya, who is God himself, he also does the same thing. And not only does he just accept a spiritual master out of formality, but the main thing I got from preparing from the class today was Lord Chaitanya shows so much humility, so humble. So the first time that Lord Chaitanya met Ishvara Puri was in Navadvip, and Ishvara Puri came there. Ishvara Puri is a sannyas name. It's not known, as far as I could see, what his name was before he took sannyas. So he came to Navadvip. At that time, Lord Chaitanya was known as Nimai Pandit, and he was in a very different mood than a humble Vaishnava. In fact, he was very arrogant. He was very arrogant and very naughty, Lord Chaitanya, when he was young. Just like Krishna, right? When he was young, what did he do? Stole the gopis' clothes. He stole yogurt. It said Krishna, when he was, he broke the pot of yogurt, fed it to the monkeys. Very naughty. Madhu would be in big trouble if he did anything like that at home. So Lord Chaitanya was just the same. He was just as naughty as Krishna. No questions at the end. That's naughty. So Lord Chaitanya, the girls in Navadvip, they would go down to the bank of the Ganges and they would worship Lord Shiva and they would pray for a good husband. And Lord Chaitanya would go and he would sit on the altar of Lord Shiva and he would say, "Why are you worshipping Lord Shiva?" He said, "You should worship me." So he's just a friend of these girls, their schoolmate, saying, "Why worship Lord Shiva? You should worship me. Lord Shiva worships me. Lord Brahma worships me. If you want something, you want a good husband, come and worship me." And the girls would say, "Nimai, what are you doing? You just made our altar all dirty. We just had a bath. We're bringing flowers and so many things for Lord Shiva. And here you come and sit on the altar and mess everything up." Say, "Just get out of the way." And Nimai says, "Okay, if you don't worship me, I curse you. You won't get a good husband. You'll get an old husband with many children from his 7 co-wives. So you'll just be the 8th co-wife from your husband. So I curse you that that's what you'll get." So Nimai was very naughty. The Brahmanas would be chanting their Gayatri half up in the water in the Ganges, and Nimai would come swim under the water and pull their legs away so they would fall into the Ganges. So these were Lord Chaitanya's pastimes when he was young, when he was Nimai, before he got married, and then before he left Navadvip. So Ishvara Puri came when he was a little bit older. Nimai was teaching Sanskrit in his Vidyapit in Navadvip, but he was very arrogant at that time. Whenever he would see any of the Vaishnavas in Navadvip, he would go straight to that Vaishnava and he would start arguing with him. He would say, "Why are you worshipping Krishna? Where does it say in scripture that you should worship Krishna, that you should chant and dance? You shouldn't be doing that. You should be studying Nyaya. You should be studying Sanskrit." And they would argue with Nimai, and Nimai would defeat them. He was so learned. And then when he defeated them, then he would present another argument, and he would defeat his own argument. So they were just totally bewildered, the Vaishnavas, and whenever the Vaishnavas saw Nimai and Navadvip, they would just cross the road and they would just avoid him. They would go somewhere else. They couldn't defeat him. So Nimai was in this mood in Navadvip, and at that time Ishvara Puri came, and Ishvara Puri saw Nimai and he thought, this personality is so beautiful. He's so attractive. He's so effulgent. His body is configured in such a way that he has all auspicious marks on his body. He's obviously a very special personality, and he had actually heard of Nimai Pandit before he'd even been to Navadvip. So he was very happy to meet Nimai Pandit, and they spoke, and Nimai was not very characteristically of Nimai at that time. He was very humble with him, and he said, "You please come to my house and we'll feed you at my house." So he invited him to his house. He bathed Ishvara Puri's lotus feet. They fed him, and Ishvara Puri was very happy, and he left. And it's described that after that meeting of Nimai and Ishvara Puri would always think of Nimai Pandit. He wouldn't forget him after that point. So after Jagannath Mishra, Lord Chaitanya's father, departed from this world, then Nimai went to Gaya to do Shraddha ceremony. And when he was in Gaya, then he met Ishvara Puri again. And he decided that he wanted to take initiation from Ishvara Puri. So Ishvara Puri, he could see that this was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and this was just a role that he would have to play, and that if he could serve Lord Chaitanya in that way, then he was happy to do that. So he officially initiated Lord Chaitanya, and after that Lord Chaitanya became mad in love of God. So this was really the teaching that Lord Chaitanya came to give us. He came to show us what it means to love Krishna, what it means to develop affection and devotion to the Supreme Lord. And just like Krishna says, Yad yada chadati shreshtas tattadevi tado janaha, whatever example a great man performs, other men follow. So Lord Chaitanya showed us what it means to be a devotee. And he didn't just show us what it means to be a devotee who's struggling to finish his 16 rounds, or what it means to be a devotee who's chanting his rounds and looking at his mobile phone at the same time, or what it means to struggle to get up in the morning, or whatever, those things. He shows us what it means to really have devotion and what it really means to have love for Krishna. And so after Lord Chaitanya took initiation from Ishvara Puri, then he was just absorbed in love of God. And it's said that he was chanting the mantra, the Hare Krishna mantra that he had received. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And he became mad in love of God, as you were saying in the crossword, mad. And he went to Ishvara Puri and said, something's wrong. You know, I came to the Hare Krishna movement for some relief. I came here because I was suffering. I came here for a peaceful life. And then I joined the temple and it's just got worse. So many problems. Lord Chaitanya didn't exactly say this, but we may think this. I came to this movement and now people are annoying me in the ashram. You know, I'm going out on book distribution and my mind is screaming, and there's so many problems coming up. Isn't it like that at home? Like your home, maybe it's not super clean. At least I can speak for our house. Isn't it, darling? Is our house super clean? Kind of clean. I'd say it's kind of clean. It's not super clean, but then if you go to clean it, you move the sofas out and take the paintings off the wall, and you actually start sweeping the floor, then you see how dirty it is actually, that it's really, really dirty, and you need to do a lot more cleaning than you're actually doing at the moment. So when we start to practice Krishna consciousness, you start to give up material things that aren't conducive. You give up watching TV, you give up drinking coffee, give up smoking cigarettes, vaping, give up drinking alcohol, give up wasting your time on social media, then the mind doesn't say, oh, how wonderful, we're never going to look at Facebook again. The mind says, no, come on, let's go back. Let's just give me a break, just 5 minutes, just 10 minutes. Let me just go down to what's a good Indian restaurant near here? Anybody know? Huh? Govinda's is miles away. I'm trying to talk about Akami. You just said that because your name's Govinda. What's a local Kami Indian restaurant? Everyone's pretending not to know. Huh? What's it called? Sakonis. Okay, Sakonis. So the mind will say, let's go there, let's go back. Just once. Don't be fanatical, don't be over the top. So we may struggle with that. Lord Chaitanya was struggling that he can't stop chanting. Actually, there's one story that once Lord Chaitanya was in the toilet and he was chanting. He couldn't stop chanting. He was trying to bite his tongue to stop himself chanting. And there was a young boy there called Gopal, and he said, why are you biting your tongue? He said, I'm in the toilet. I shouldn't be chanting Krishna's holy name in the toilet. It's an impure place. It's offensive. And Gopal said, what's the problem? Why can't you chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra in the toilet? He said, it's all pure. Nama Chintamani Krishnas Chaitanya Rasavigyaha Purna Shuddho Nitya Mukto Binatva Nama Namano. And Shuddho is pure. It can't be contaminated by anything. So you can chant wherever you like. Lord Chaitanya said, oh, you're right, thank you. You become Gopal Guru. After that, he became Gopal Guru. He was just a young boy as well. So Lord Chaitanya couldn't stop chanting. And not only could he not stop chanting, but all these ecstatic symptoms started manifesting in his body. Romanchakampa Shrutarangabhajo, he's crying, and he's shivering, and he's fainting, and he's dancing and laughing, and he can't control these symptoms. So he goes back to his spiritual master and says, I've become haunted by a ghost or something, I've gone mad. I don't know what's happened since I've started chanting this mantra. I'm all over the place. I can't control my emotions. And Ishvara Puri said, very good. This is what should be happening when you chant the Mahamantra. The problem with us is that we get initiated and we chant the Mahamantra and nothing happens. We continue chanting the Mahamantra and we continue thinking of so many other things. So it's said in the Bhagavatam, how does that verse go? Steel-framed heart, Govinda? Thank you for it. So it's explained that if you chant the holy name of the Lord and you don't cry, then your heart must be made of steel. Lord Chaitanya didn't have that problem. As soon as he began chanting the holy name of the Lord, he couldn't control his emotions. So if we're chanting Krishna's holy name, which is non-different from him, and we're not experiencing some ecstasy, then we can understand we've still got something to work on. Fortunately, Bhaktivinoda Thakur didn't say give up if you chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and you don't cry in ecstasy. He said just carry on chanting. There's nothing else. That's the purity, that's the medicine, that's the cleansing product. If you want to clean something, like we're cleaning our house again, you need something clean to cleanse it with, right? I mean, you can just sweep it up and take it out, but better you get some clean water and you cleanse it. But what can cleanse our consciousness? What is the real purity? The highest summit of purity is Krishna and Krishna's holy name. So we take that cleaning product, we take that agent and we cleanse our heart with that. And if we can't feel real advancement, no problem. You just carry on. Just carry on. And Lord Chaitanya is showing what will happen if we reach the perfection of our chanting. So that is one thing also that Lord Chaitanya was teaching us, that we should be humble. He's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, yet still he's accepting a spiritual master. Another thing also we could learn is that we should also set an example. So even if you're an advanced devotee, you're a senior devotee, still we should set the example for everybody else, and think also that we may think that we're insignificant. Who am I? I'm just a little devotee. Nobody knows who I am. I'm not a big guru. Or I don't give class, or I don't lead kirtan. I'm just cleaning the temple room or whatever it is, just serving prasadam, or I live outside. I'm just a grihasta. But if you leave, if you give up Krishna consciousness, if you start acting in a way that's not inspiring, it has a knock-on effect on other people as well. Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda Ki Jai. It has a powerful impact. And on the other hand, if you do stick to Krishna consciousness throughout all the difficulties, throughout the years, throughout whatever obstacles there may be, then that inspires everybody else. And isn't it so inspiring when a devotee leaves his body and it's like, he's been such a nice devotee, and it's like he's been practicing, and you just think he's gone back to Krishna. That he's done it, you know, he's perfected his life. So many nice devotees I know throughout my life who've been really exemplary, and they've left the body, they've died, and then you think, how wonderful, in that short space of time they utilized their time perfectly and they've gone on. And so we should think we're also set an example to everybody around us, so that is also a responsibility on our side. And another thing that Lord Chaitanya is teaching is that the holy name is everything in this age. If we want to become advanced, if we want to follow in his footsteps, then what is the process? What do we need to do? We need to chant the holy name. And that is exhibited in this next incident, that after this, when Lord Chaitanya had become initiated and he had also taken sannyas, then he went to Varanasi, where there was Chandrasekhar Acharya and Tapan Mishra, and there was a big guru called Prakashananda Saraswati who was teaching there, had many thousands of disciples. But he was a Mayavadi sannyasi. He was an impersonalist. He didn't believe in Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya went to see this Mayavadi sannyasi. And when he went there, this sannyasi was teaching with thousands of his disciples. And Lord Chaitanya, he was also a sannyasi. He was also initiated in the same line, because he was initiated by Keshava Bharati. And he went into the area where they were and sat down where the shoes were. So we don't have many people who come here and come down and they sit in the shoe room even, right? Who goes down there and sits in the shoe room, reads Bhagavatam, or chants their japa there? Nobody, right? We come here and go in the temple room, or we go up to Srila Prabhupada's room. But Lord Chaitanya just sat there by the shoes. So he also, when he sat down there, he also exhibited his effulgence, which is not generally possible, like you just switch it on and it glares out. But he did that. And Prakashananda Saraswati saw, okay, who is this humble person? And he went to Lord Chaitanya and said, who are you? And he was already aware of who Lord Chaitanya was. He said, come here, come sit with me. And he said, thank you for coming, but I have a doubt about you. You are a sannyasi in a glorious Mayavadi line. Why are you chanting and dancing like a madman? You should be studying. You should be studying Vedanta Sutra, not chanting and crying like an emotional madman. And what did Lord Chaitanya say then? He said, my guru told me that I'm a fool and that I'm not qualified to study Vedanta Sutra, and so I should do something a little bit more simple, and I should just chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So Lord Chaitanya is encapsulating it all, and there his humility. It was his humility also with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya when he went to talk to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya was also preaching Mayavad philosophy. He was a misleader. He was misdirecting people. And in the most severe way, there's nothing more offensive than to say that Krishna doesn't exist, or that Krishna is nothing, or that Krishna's body is material. That's the summit of atheism and impersonalism and offensiveness towards Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya went to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya also, and he didn't go there with this Bhagavad Gita in hand. What are you talking about? He wasn't like a Bible basher, Lord Chaitanya. He went there and he sat and he listened to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya for 7 days. It's inconceivable, absolutely inconceivable, the humility of Lord Chaitanya and Krishna and our acharyas. We wouldn't be able to do that in our preaching. It's bad enough you go on book distribution and you meet a Christian and they start preaching to you, and generally we say to the book distributors, if you meet a Christian and they start preaching to you, just move on, carry on and distribute books to somebody else. But can you imagine, you just sit there going, yeah, let's go sit down, we'll sit on the bench, just teach me. and you sit there for a whole day, I don't think we would be able to hack it, you just like start screaming after a while and go home. But Lord Chaitanya listened for 7 days, 7 full days to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya preaching Mayavad philosophy. And it was only when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said, is everything okay? Are you understanding what I'm saying? Because you're not nodding or you're not shaking your head. You're not responding in any way. So do you understand what I'm teaching you? And Lord Chaitanya says, well, I understand Vedanta. I understand the verses that you're quoting, but the way that you're getting all confused in your explanations of them, that I don't understand. And then he began to talk to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and to preach to Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. And similarly with Prakashananda Saraswati, that Lord Chaitanya didn't hit him over the head with the Bhagavad Gita. He said, I'm such a fool, I'm not qualified to do what you're doing. I'm not like you. I just need to chant the holy name because I'm a fool. And that's what my spiritual master told me to do. So throughout Lord Chaitanya's pastimes, and all these pastimes that are related to Ishvara Puri, we constantly see this humility that Lord Chaitanya is exhibiting. And of course he taught that to us directly. So Lord Chaitanya didn't write any books. Krishna didn't write any books either. Krishna spoke the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna, he spoke the Uddhava Gita to Uddhava. Vyasadeva wrote all the books, or wrote many books. But Lord Chaitanya, even more relevantly for us, his teachings 500 years ago, only 500 years ago, when Christopher Columbus was sailing around the world, when so many things, Renaissance was happening in Europe, so many things recently, then he gave us 8 verses that he did speak personally, and these were recorded by his followers. And the one verse that we quote the most from there is Trinadapi Sunichena Tarodapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari. That one should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind. One should think oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree. And one should be ready to offer all respects to others without expecting any respect in return. And if you do that, then you can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. So this is an integral part of Lord Chaitanya's teachings. And just as Vidura said to Dhritarashtra, he said, humility is a very bitter medicine. It's very difficult to swallow. It's difficult to be humble. Difficult to be humble when you're married, your wife is criticizing you. Difficult to be humble at work when they tell you off. Difficult to be humble with anybody, because you have to think, actually, I did probably do something wrong. I'm not 100% perfect. Such a difficult thing to accept. So painful, but it's actually a fact. So if we accept this bit of medicine, it actually makes our life so much better. We'll be so much happier. If we don't take ourselves too seriously, if we're humble in our dealings, we offer all respects to others, and we expect no respect in return. Give someone else the benefit of the doubt. Once Radhanath Swami was saying that if somebody comes and says to you that, Prabhu, you're like this, you're like that, you're lazy, you're ugly, you're stupid, you're a waste of space, you did this wrong, you did this wrong, why are you here, better you go somewhere else. Then you say to that person, whether it's a devotee or a non-devotee, you say, thank you so much for giving me that help. Thank you for giving me that feedback. I really appreciate it. Now I can grow. Now I can develop. Now I can see what I can work on. You're like my guru. You're helping me. And actually, you're so kind and you're so merciful that you only mentioned these superficial things, because just like an iceberg, you just see the very tip of the iceberg. If you actually knew all of the things that are going on in my heart, then you wouldn't even talk to me. You wouldn't even come anywhere near me because I'm so contaminated. So thank you for just giving me a small percentage of what I actually deserve. It's the same thing that Jesus Christ said. He said, if somebody criticizes you, somebody slaps you, you should turn the other cheek, right? So they can slap the other cheek as well. Not slap them back. Jesus didn't say slap them harder. He said turn the other cheek. Jesus also set that example, right? Going up on the cross, he just accepted, this is what it means in this world. This is what we accept. So Lord Chaitanya is teaching that to us. And if God, who is omniscient, omnipotent, omnibenevolent, can be humble, then we can also at least make an effort on our sides, being born in Kali Yuga, struggling with our anatas. So Lord Chaitanya was very humble with all of these personalities, and later they all became devotees. Of course, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, he was drawn in by the humility of Lord Chaitanya, and then he could hear from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the same with Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya. Then he began to listen to Lord Chaitanya. Okay, I've spoken, I've said everything that I thought, and okay, so you say something now. He'd exhausted himself, and then he was ready to hear from Lord Chaitanya. Another beautiful example of, not in this instance, well actually it's also about Lord Chaitanya's humility, but also about Ishvara Puri's humility. So Ishvara Puri was a disciple of Madhavendra Puri, who it said was the first seed of love of Godhead in our sampradaya. And when it came that time for Madhavendra Puri to leave this world, then Madhavendra Puri was absorbed in love of God. And he wasn't just absorbed in love of God, but he was feeling separation from Krishna. And he was feeling great pain, and he was feeling great anxiety that I've wasted my life, that I haven't achieved perfection in my devotional service, that I've been practicing Krishna consciousness, and where is Krishna? I'm not with Krishna. Krishna is so far away. And he was lamenting like this. And Ishvara Puri could understand that this is the mood of our line. We don't think, yep, me and Krishna, we're like this, you know, me and Krishna, you know, we're best friends. No, we're Vipalambabhav, the highest feeling of love of Godhead. When that feeling is most intense, is when you're feeling that you're not with Krishna, but you want to be with Krishna. Let's say, they say familiarity breeds contempt, right? Who likes burfis here? Everybody, pretty much. You don't like burfis, Govinda? You do? Okay. So, but if I gave you like 50 burfis and I said you have to eat all these burfis right now, then you'd be sick of it at the end. You'd be like, oh, you wouldn't eat burfis for a long time after that. But if you don't eat burfis for 2 months, you know, and you see someone eating burfis, and then you go, you know, go here, come for the morning program just so you can buy some burfis. And you come and they've already all gone, then you're like, oh, where's the burfi? You know, I need a burfi. And Lord Prabhupada talks about, I think it's one type of laddu or something in India that it's so good, it's so tasty, this laddu. Do you know the name of it? Dilika laddu. That you shouldn't eat this laddu because you'll just be constantly thinking of this laddu, and it will cause you so much pain that you won't be able to get enough of them. So better you don't eat it, it's too good. So devotees, they feel the most for Krishna when they're feeling that they're not with Krishna, when they feel that they're separated from Krishna. So Madhavendra Puri, he was absorbed in this ecstasy when he was leaving this world, and he was saying this key verse. It's like a very foundational verse for our Gaudiya Madhva Sampradaya. Aidina dayadaranatahe matodanata kadavalokyase hridayam twadalokakataram dayata brahmyati kim karomyaham. So that means, O my Lord, O most merciful Master, O Master of Mathura, when shall I see you again? Because of not seeing you, my agitated heart has become unsteady. O most beloved one, what shall I do now? Kim karomyaham. What should I do? I can't see you. I'm not with you. Where are you? How can I live without you? So it's a very important verse of Chaitanya Charitamrita, spoken by Srimati Radharani, originally, supposedly. So Madhavendra Puri was reciting this, and Ishvara Puri was helping him in this ecstasy. He was chanting to him, he was reciting Krishna's pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam. And he was also serving Madhavendra Puri very menially. So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that sometimes the spiritual master acts like a normal person to give the disciple an opportunity to serve. I'm not sure if this is exactly true, but this is my feeling. I see with my spiritual master, this is my kind of speculation, but I thought I'd just share it, that often when he's giving classes, it happens all the time, and I've seen it in the past as well. He'll start a verse, and then he'll say, what is that verse? And then disciples will say what the end of the verse is. And he does it so much that I really think he does it to see how many of his disciples know that verse. So the spiritual master may do many things. He doesn't do it, he just does it like he's forgetting the verse, but I don't think he is really forgetting those verses. So the spiritual master may act in a particular way so this disciple can be engaged in service and so they can get purified. So Madhavendra Puri, Ishvara Puri was serving his spiritual master in such menial ways when he was leaving his body, cleaning up his waste, his stool and his urine when he was leaving his body. And Madhavendra Puri blessed him that he attained love of God when he was leaving his body. And so Ishvara Puri attained that. And conversely, Madhavendra Puri had another disciple who was called Ramachandra Puri. So Ramachandra Puri had become contaminated by Mayavad philosophy. And when he saw that Madhavendra Puri was on his deathbed and he was crying, he could not understand, because he'd become so contaminated by Mayavad philosophy. He thought, now this is my guru. He's been practicing spiritual life throughout his whole life. He should be peaceful, he should be meditating, he should be smiling, he should be absorbed in the oneness of everything. Why is he crying like a child? So, and he said that to his spiritual master, he said that to Madhavendra Puri. He said, why are you crying? He said, Brahman is everywhere. Brahman is everything. Just absorb your mind in Brahman and you'll be happy. And Madhavendra Puri said, I'm already dying out of pain of not attaining Krishna, and now you're instructing me so foolishly. He said, get out of here. Leave me alone. If I see your face when I leave my body, then I won't achieve the destination that I want to achieve. So he basically rejected Ramachandra Puri. And then after that, Ramachandra Puri became even more contaminated. He would invite devotees over to his house. He would feed the devotees. It's described how he invited Jagadananda Pandit, and he fed Jagadananda, and he said, no, eat more, and he would feed him more. Jagadananda said, no, I've eaten enough. He said, no, eat more, and then he would eat more. And then he would finish, and then Ramachandra would say, I've heard that you Gaudiya Vaishnavas eat too much, followers of Lord Chaitanya. Now I see how much you eat. These sannyasis, you should be controlling your senses. But I see you're overeating. If you overeat, then you cannot perform the proper regulative principles of a sannyasi. So he would act like this. And then when he was with Lord Chaitanya, he was encouraging Lord Chaitanya to eat. He did the same with Lord Chaitanya. He went to Lord Chaitanya's and saw there were some ants crawling on the ground. He said, "Oh, this is a sign you've been eating sweets." So if we have that offensive mentality, then you can see that anywhere. You can see that in everyone. Srila Prabhupada said, you can see faults in me. It depends on what filter we have on our consciousness. If we want to be Krishna, if we want to be perfect, if we want to be better than others, then we'll see, this devotee is not so good because he does this. Has anybody ever thought this? You come to Japa period, maybe it's like the first time you've come to Japa period for 6 months, and you come like quite early in Japa period, and you're chanting Japa, and then devotees coming in after you, and you're like, oh, he's so in such maya, he came in so late for Japa period. My mind says that to me, oh God, he only came for 7 o'clock, I was here at 6:45. So if we have that integral, built-in chip, Intel inside, we have this false ego microchip in our heart, super fast processor, as soon as you see someone, it's like, put them down, so I can be better. So that's following in the footsteps of Ramachandra Puri, that whatever somebody does, they're not going to be right. You ask them to eat, if they eat, then they're wrong. If they don't eat, then they're going to be wrong. You go to somebody's house, there's some ants, then obviously they're not following the principles of sannyas correctly because they've been eating sweets. It doesn't follow logically, it's just, you have to criticize people because you want to be the supreme. So, Ishvara Puri humbly served his spiritual master. He became the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya, and he attained love of God. Ramachandra Puri, he didn't understand the mood of his spiritual master. He disturbed his spiritual master. Then he began to disturb the Vaishnavas. Then he disturbed Lord Chaitanya, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's also a very important lesson to learn from these pastimes, that we need to serve the devotees. We need to serve the spiritual master. Lord Chaitanya was showing how important it is to accept the spiritual master.
1 minute.
Yep.
Good.
Yeah, thank you. And showing that we should accept a spiritual master and how you should accept a spiritual master. And accepting a spiritual master doesn't just mean, okay, I've got a Diksha Guru. It means listening and following devotees. It means Shiksha. Shiksha is the most important thing. That's the active principle of our line and of initiation as well, is follow the instructions, not sitting at a fire yajna. So these are a few things that we can learn on this day, on this auspicious disappearance day of Lord Chaitanya. We should pray for the mercy of Ishvara Puri and beg for his blessings. I'll finish there. It's going to be arti in less than 1 minute.